welcome to another meeting of the Midnight Society. Because it was based in Yorkshire, if I recall.
And if it is now.
Do you want to hear a scary story?
Oh, I'm really terrified.
Price of pint in London, £6.
It's cheap, that.
It's good, I know.
Cheap. Affordable.
In hindsight, we should have done this at Halloween. Hello there, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I am your host, Rich Owens, and joining me this week, we have two wonderful FMT members. We have D-Boy Plays, and we have the returning Jebaroo, who's quite far away for the benefit of the audio listeners. He's moving closer. He's slowly moving closer. He has arrived at his destination. His destination, of course, being podcast. Hi, Jeb.
Sorry, I'm late. I was over there.
You were. Traffic was a
quite
nightmare.
A trek. Yeah. It's quite a way to go. Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you? You're back. You weren't here last week.
Was I? I can't remember. Oh, I was.
No, you weren't.
No, I wasn't, was I? No, it wasn't.
Are you TikTok sensation? Hold my hand.
No, I'm not. Unfortunately not.
Oh, okay. So you weren't here last week then.
Yeah, I am well. I enjoyed your conversation. It was very enlightening.
Thanks.
That kind of sums up like I listened to the podcast. Cool. Lovely. Yeah, I'm okay. I was ill a bit this week. It started on Monday and then went into Tuesday. I had full cold and flu shakes and everything. I don't get ill. And then I've been ill all week, so I do get ill. Yeah, exactly.
You do.
So yeah. Hi.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling slightly better. Glad you're feeling well enough to podcast with us. It's nice to have you back. Yes. And I'm sorry to hear you've been poorly. But, we move. You're here, and that's what counts. D, how are you, friend?
I'm pretty good. It's getting close to the end of the school term for us teaching lot, and so that can't come quick enough, please. So yeah. I'm looking forward to the Christmas break. Yeah, generally doing all right. Doing not too bad. So it's been a nice week.
It's been all right.
Been nice.
All right. Good.
How's your week been?
It's been fine. It's been adequate. It's been an adequate week. Can't really complain too much. Very much like yourself, I am counting down the days to 12:30 on Thursday afternoon, where my my year is done. I say my year, my calendar year is done at work. Solidarity to everybody out there listening to this podcast who works in education in some capacity. We're nearly there. We're this close. Oh, we're this close. So close. For the audio listeners, my fingers are very, very close together to indicate a very, very small period of time. Can't wait. We're nearly there. And I'm very, very excited to just not go to work for a bit. Jeb's fingers are really far apart. That makes me feel like it. Oh, no. Now, D's fingers are really close together. Oh, they're changing it. It's like a crab's claw now. I don't like it. I have to stop doing that.
Okay.
No crabs on this podcast.
It's just going to be a week of Christmas films at schools, isn't it, really? Every lesson. That's all it should be.
Pretty much. At this point, pretty much, isn't it? Just phone it in. In. You know, last day before the Christmas holidays as well, everyone just comes in and messes about. I remember one year somebody brought an N64 into my school and we just played GoldenEye all day. Oh, best day of life. Best day of my life, hands down. And I'm factoring in my wedding and the birth of both of my children into that as well.
Wow.
Facility, proximity mines, first to 20 kills, untouchable. Absolutely untouchable. And of course, you can't play it on the Switch these days because the controls don't work. So my legacy lives on. If they made GoldenEye Switch controls work, then I might be at risk. But until then, it's all about me.
Title's yours until then, mate.
Title's mine. Hear that, Nintendo, who are clearly listening. fix the controls for GoldenEye on the Switch port, please, and then I'll just carry on being really good at GoldenEye. I assume I've not played it for about 25 years, but I assume I'm still really good at it. That tracks. That makes sense to me.
It feels right.
You get good, don't maintain that level of good, but then if you try again, the level of good is still there, no?
I think that's the case, yeah. That's usually the
good
case.
to know. Good to know. I have just double checked that we are recording this, and we are, which is always good. We're off to an absolute flyer, especially after last week. Rich forgot to press record. So that's a good thing.
I did listen last week. So sorry, I've not bullied you on that. Can't believe you forgot to press record. What an idiot. Right, there you go.
Thanks, Jeb. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot to press record. Rookie error. Over 100 episodes in, and it was inevitable. It was
At
bound
least
to
it was
happen.
only after like 10 minutes.
Right.
If we'd spoken for like an hour and a half and then you went, oh my God, I've not recorded, I probably would have just gone, well then, Dad, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and just gone,
Yeah.
we're going to be up until midnight.
I think I probably would have tried to... Eventually, I think I would have admitted to it. Mate, would I have lied? Be like, the audio is just corrupted. I don't know what's happened. It just sounds really weird. We can't use this. We can't use this. I would have just come clean. Soz lads, forgot. I wouldn't be able to gaslight anybody. I haven't got the capability or the desire. I just would have come clean eventually. But hey, 10 minutes isn't bad. And this has been recording the whole time. So I feel like we've accomplished many wonderful things. Should we talk about Football Manager, fellas? Should we have a conversation about that game that this podcast is named after? Should we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm up for it.
Thanks. Cheers, boys.
Having a go.
Cheers. Because I thought we were having a conversation earlier today, not that long ago, shockingly enough, about what we were going to talk about today. And as people were saying to me, Rich, what are we going to talk about on the podcast? I saw some tweets because it was around the not long after the final whistle of the Manchester derby. Amad Diallo scored the winning goal in the 90th minute for Manchester United, and the entire red side of Manchester, their social media presence was making out like he is the greatest footballer to ever live. I was like, oh, he's the best young player in the Premier League, and people were dropping that S word that I really, really hate to describe. Oh, that made me cross. But then amongst the sea of just praise for Amad Diallo, there was a tweet. It's like, well, his contract expires in 6 months. So why are you letting your best player, your alleged best player's contract, just run down if he's the second coming of Christ? And it got me to thinking. It got me to thinking because in reality, he's not the only big name player or allegedly big name player at a Premier League club whose contract's only got 6 months left on it. Of course, you've got the likes of Mohamed Salah at Liverpool at the moment, who's only got a short period of time left in his deal. Yeah, he has.
What?
Yeah. I know. That's the correct. That I think that's the response of the Liverpool board. Oh, well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I know. Huge, isn't it? So I thought.
Anyone else, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's just him. It's just him. There's definitely nobody else. Definitely nobody else. So it got me to thinking about that process on Football Manager when it comes to signing contracts, players that are already yours whose contracts are coming to an end, whether you are trying to, do a bit of a sneaky in January and pick somebody up on a pre-contract before their contract with their current club expires. There's a lot of different ways that people approach these. Lots of different ways that people approach it. And I thought it'd be fun to have a little chat about it, share some thoughts, gain some insight, and just become better human beings and contract negotiators on Football Manager. I mean, D, you spent a lot of time on the Med this year, moving around club by club by club by club by club. A lot of the time you arrive at a new club, you're assessing a squad, and there might be a certain player in that team who the previous managers thought, nope, they are completely useless. I want them gone forever. They've got 6 months left in their deal when you turn up, and you go, actually, that might be a really, really useful player for this squad moving forwards. What's your approach when it comes to the maybe the elder statesmen or the players that might have fallen out of favour with the previous manager in terms of assessing whether you even want to keep them at the club?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think when you join a club in that scenario and thinking, okay, what are we doing with any players whose contracts are running out? Typically on the med, it would usually be like the June, but it's the same thing in practice, right? Like I'd arrive at the club in June, you'd be like, I've got a month of like possibly either keeping hold of some of the best players that might not want to stay, some might want to stick around, and all of that funny negotiations. I mean, as far as FM goes, typically, I think if anybody looks like they've got a bit of potential, if they're younger and they've got a bit of potential, and there's the option to extend, they're absolutely getting extended. If they are, and I am very harsh with this in the game, if they are 32, 33, that's usually when I'm happy to accept any sort of leaving on a free or trying to set offload in whatever capacity I can. Like if someone's got a year left, it's like get them out the door. And that's not an ages thing. It's because we all know that typically with outfield players around 33, the physicals drop off and they just can't keep up. And on all of their scout reports, it always has that lovely little phrase, maybe past their best. And that's always a concern, especially if you're trying to win league titles, and you're trying to put together a team that's going to, stand a chance especially in many different scenarios that they're new to you. You kind of want to make sure you've got the best you can have. So if it's a senior player whose contract's running out and they're not a team leader, I'm willing to let them go. If they're a team leader, there's maybe like all right, we'll give you a year. But if it's anything outside of team leader, I'm quite happy to just let them out the door. And then luckily with some contract extensions, especially if they are a little bit older, you can get a bit lucky and get them to go on a lower wage. I think I spent a lot of time, especially even with the save I'm doing now, I spent a lot of time when it got to like March when players were like, oh, such and such is interested in a new contract. It's when you go, all right, let's get into the new contract and try and just sort of just mug them off and just take about 300 or 400 quid off their their wage bill and see what you can do. But yeah, it's tricky. I think it's definitely circumstantial. It depends on your team, but the sort of blanket rule, if the physicals are gone, I'm not extending a contract.
I think that's fair. I really like that point you've made there about trying to talk, especially the older players, talking them down. I think it's happened to me a couple of times. I think in the network save this year, I think Jadon Sancho came to me demanding a new deal. And eventually I got him to sign on. I think it was 50 grand a week less than he was on before he signed it. And he is only 27, 28, I think, in our network save. So that's the treat. That's the one for me. I think there are certain age limits to players. I really like the way that Chelsea, I mean, it definitely used to do it. These days, it doesn't matter because none of their players are over 30. But I think historically, they always had that kind of, that rule in place where players over 30, it was always a maximum for 1 year contract extension for everybody. And I don't mind that as much because at least it almost feels like you've got a get out of jail free clause because, a lot of players, they're like, hey, give me 3 years. I'm 30. I want a new 3-year contract. But like I say, if you see that decline, especially if as we all do when we play FM, if you're farming South America, if you've got 17 Scandinavian like new gens sat in your reserves who are going to be that good in a couple of years' time, I find with the older players, the less you play them, the quicker the physicals tend to drop off. Like if you keep somebody active in your squad, they kind of maintain the physicals a little bit better. So if you've got like a right winger who's you've got a replacement within 18 months and you don't play him and that pace, that acceleration just plummet, you're still paying you're stuck with that player on a contract for an additional 3 years. I like the rolling 1 year contract. I'm a big fan of that one. Just keep doing it year after year after year after year based on their necessity. Sometimes they're just helpful to have around for like for example European registration rules. That can always
Again, I've got it's the amount they're being paid as well can really affect things. Like if you've got if you think of especially so I'm thinking like when I was at like Barca or Napoli, when you've got players that are on quite frankly ludicrous money, £450,000 a week. If their contract's running up, I'm very happy to just go, see you later. Doesn't matter how good you are. I want 450k in my wage budget to spend around, but cheeky optional 1-year extension is quite a good little trick.
Yes, it is a useful one. I mean, Jeb, you've been more of a one club kind of guy this year. Well, technically 2 clubs. Technically 2. 1.5, really, if we're assessing the actual legitimacy of one of those teams. Again, you've been around for long enough. You've seen the younger players develop, become first team players, and you're in 2031, 32 now with Sheffield United. Have you had any slightly older players who have started to kind of look like they might be past their best, but they're wanting new deals? How do you go about assessing that?
Don't really.
Fair enough.
I offer contracts is when you get the notification going, these people are expiring at the end of the season. And I'll offer them sometimes based off the adverts. The adverts that all the agents put to me. All the advice that you get to it. A lot of it, you know who you want to keep, and you usually have tied them to a longer deal anyway. Like contract negotiations are a little broken generally in FM. I found it's you either the agent, and I think I've whinged about this before. The agent interaction is just nauseating. Like really, really, like the initial conversation where you have with them, where he goes, "Oh, they want this, this, and this." And I was like, "Yeah, but it'll take a little less." Okay, yeah, it'll take a little less. Let's use an example. I don't know. Let's pick a random name. Kevin Kleenex. He's a striker.
The Kevin Kleenex.
Yeah, Kevin Kleenex. Yeah, Kevin Kleenex. His agent, and Andy Andrex. He comes to me and goes, "Oh, my player wants new contracts." Oh, okay, fair enough. What does he want? Oh, he wants 50 grand a week. So I'm not going to pay him 50 grand a week. Can you negotiate a bit less? Yeah, sure. He's happy about 40 grand a week. So okay, that works. Cool. Come out of that conversation. Then you go into the end of the contract negotiations. Bang! Can you have 50 grand a week? And go, no, you can't. I'll put it down to 40 like we agreed. Oh, goes Owen, I've had enough of this. I'm not talking to you anymore. Let's fix it. I'm not going to fix it. See you later. End conversation. End scene.
That's just classic Andrex and Kleenex, though. Surely.
Yeah, but that seems to happen every single time I negotiate a contract, or you negotiate with a player that you want to bring in. It's getting a bit silly on that side of things. You'll get back towards the end of the season, and then you'll end up having to pay Kevin 50 grand to mop things up with his tissues or whatever he does. Probably have to after he's got that 50 grand a week. He's happy about it, really happy about it. Got a bin full. I did this week as well, but nothing to do with that. That was more of a snot. Right. Anyway. I'm not talking about that anyway. Right. Anyway. So yeah, that's kind of where that bit of the contract negotiations broken, and it's the same with. I've always found it with manager contracts as well. They offer you a contract, and if you don't say yes to it, they're not going to. Unless you go, yeah, that's fine, or unless you put you maybe ask for a grand more. Don't go ask for 5 grand. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah, we're withdrawing that. We're never going to offer you one ever again until 3 months' time when we really want you back. So yeah, I'm intrigued. If there's some work to be done on it still. I've seen the horrible cheeses that people do where you offer all the never-nevers and things like that. And it's not often I do that. I don't think I've done it at all. I might have done it with certain players that Rich wanted in the network save, but even then, I don't think he even signed anyway. But I think Rich has done it even worse because I've seen the way he was contract negotiating at that time as well. So, yes. That's why.
First of all, how dare you?
Yeah. But...
Just because it's
second,
true doesn't mean you should say it publicly.
So there we are. It's those contract negotiations, and also I think there is an issue with the same with I don't think it's Stake. I think it is Stakey, isn't it? Stakey's done some weird contract negotiations, which means if we go past another season in this, he could be in trouble. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
that bidding, I think, is going to just cripple Leicester financially just because he's put so much on.
I mean, I don't know what you're on about. I can't spend any money whatsoever at all with Liverpool, including on wages, because I'm 500 grand over the wage budget. So
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I think Stakes Team are essentially sponsored by Klarna, aren't they? It's very, very, very high rates of interest. Look, I think there's. I mean, I'm shocked the aspersions that have been cast my way by Jeb. That I'm not shocked at all. I think there definitely are little bits and pieces that I think some people rely on when it comes to contract negotiations. In terms of I think I use them more in the network save than I do offline, like I have done in What's the Story or doing bits and pieces like Retro Sheffield Wednesday. I promise a lot less to players offline than I do, especially in terms of the network save for some of those really, really high value players. Because essentially, if you find somebody who's that good, you're probably going to have multiple people bidding for them. It's going to happen, isn't it? I always overpay the agents. That's straight away. I think it's one of the first things that anytime I see the contract negotiation screen, if they have an agent, I will always overpay them. It's the first thing that I up the ante on every single time, because I do find that it helps. I absolutely do find that it helps. I think it's, again, there is that repetitive dialogue, as you say, Jeb, with the agents where, you Kevin Kleenex wants 50 grand a week, and you're like, oh, well, we think he's worth more like 40.
Wait a minute,
and
you're
they go,
going for Kevin Kleenex as well. What are you offering him now?
55 grand a week, and all the bins he can fill. It's a secret negotiation tactic I use. But I'll be honest with you, I have a tendency to forget, because out of principle, whenever I'm talking to the agents, I always click the that wage sounds a little bit too high button, regardless of who I'm managing. Like, for context, I did it with every single deal I negotiated when I was managing at Juve in What's the Story for Glory, because we had no money, and every single penny was being so carefully accounted for when I was negotiating contracts with players, which makes it really sad it ended the way that it did. But I was very, very careful about the wage structure and how much I was specifically paying players. So straight away, they're like, oh, Kevin Kleenex wants 50 grand a week. I will click the, well, no, I think the wage demand is too high. Okay, he'd accept closer to 40. Fantastic. I will forget when it gets to that contract screen that he's agreed to 40. I'll go, oh, he wants 45. Oh, that sounds really, really good. Yeah, fine. Pay the agent an extra couple of quid. I don't drop the wage and go from there and work my way back up, because I just forget. I need a visual aid in front of me. I need the Microsoft paperclip to pop up and go, he said he'd accept 40. He's gouging you here. He is absolutely gouging you here. But I will always overpay the agent. It's by default. Click. They want less money. I'll give them less money, but I'll then overpay the agent to try and compensate. And that, I find, works more in some cases than just adding other ridiculous bonuses. Because I've gone that way in the past where, like, right, wages fair is we're on the cusp of agreeing something. I'll add goal bonuses. I'll add assist bonuses. I will add international cap bonus. You start throwing those in there, and there is nothing more frustrating than submitting that offer. They wanted 55 grand a week. You've taken it down to 45. You've put all these bonuses back in, and then it pops straight back up to 55, but all the bonuses remain in place, because you're like, well, they're on the table now. Can't back down from that. That's a really frustrating one for me.
Yeah.
But I do love, I call it tickling the agent. I won't say specifically which part, because I do, when I'm streaming, refer to a very specific part of the agent that might be worth tickling. But that's one of the ones that I dive straight into when I'm negotiating. A little tickle of the agent. And for the audio listeners, I did a hand gesture that might imply where I'm tickling, but they seem to respond very well to being tickled. Got to say it, they do like a little tickling.
Yeah, the agent wants an interesting one, because after I saw you doing that, I did implement it on a few signings as well to try and get it to encourage players to come to my team. And I found there's like a threshold I've noticed with agents that, so if you lower a player's wages, there's a certain cutoff point with how much you can give an agent. So it's like a balancing that I find it's the weird balancing act of like, okay, how low can I get the wages whilst also just giving the agent just a little bit more? It's like you wanted 100 grand, it's 120, but you managed to take, like, maybe 2 grand, 3 grand off the wages, especially when I'm at like Aarhus now, like current team. That's a lot of money a week for me, 100, like even like 200 quid is a lot. So doing just that little bit more, a little bit more for you, a little bit less for the player. Come on, you don't have to tell him. don't just say that's exactly what he wanted. The good thing about the SAS skin is that on the contract page, if you've done the whole pre-chat thing, it tells you that on the SAS skin.
I just clearly don't pay enough attention. My eyes are drawn to certain corners of the screen.
Because where it is on the screen, it's right behind where your webcam is.
Well, there you go then. That is my webcam's fault.
It's webcam's fault, yeah.
You've ruined everything. Yeah, it's a good. Okay. Well, I suppose that helps a little bit more. I suppose that does help a little bit more. Do either of you, I suppose, have a threshold for? Because again, I find it happens quite a lot. Like it's happening a lot in Mad's database for me at the moment, like Retro Sheffield Wednesday, because the wage structure is of its time. What I'm finding is that because, like, for example, Sheffield Wednesday, it's a very broad spectrum. Like, you've got the lowest earners. You've got somebody like David Hurst, for example, who's on about $5,000 a week. You've got players like John Sheridan, who are on about 6.5. You've got Dan Petrescu, who's on 44. So there's a bit of a, and in fairness, with the exception of a couple of other players, like the Dan Petrescu is one of them. There's a couple of others that are earning big money. Everybody else is on a very, very reasonable wage, like especially for the time. Quite frequently, I'm seeing a lot more of the, hey, I feel like I deserve a new deal, and it happens quite a lot. They always want 3 or 4 times their current wage. I suppose we mentioned earlier, you've got that, if they've got a year left on their deal, for example, and they either don't want to sign a new contract or they want an absolute fortune, cash in on them early. Do either of you, I suppose, have a set strategy in place where, like, right, this player has got 2.5 years left in his contract, wants a new one, I'm going to upset him and say no. How long do I give it before I then start to move that player on, or maybe even try and get him to sign a new deal in a year's time for less money? Do you have a approach to that? Somebody who's demanding a new contract, do you instantly just check them off and go, well, no, they're leaving inevitably? Do you just go, right, we'll give it a bit more time and we'll go from there?
Yeah, it's different. I think again, it's very save circumstantial, but typically, if they ask for something that I just know is too much for the club to afford, I just say no, and then try and either just give it half a season, wait for their unhappiness to disappear, and then should we try that again? Or if they just are constantly annoyed, then just try and profit off them. Because if there's certain players, or the way the game will give you certain players, I think if they have certain expectations, they're just not willing to go lower than that, which is weird because I notice with free transfers, if they want, we want 15 grand, I haven't got 15 grand, see you later. A month after the transfer window goes, they'll be like, I'll take 5. Thank you. Sorry, I was rude before. But in the team, they're like, no, I'm the best. I'm clearly the best player. I've got 1 assist in 17 games from right wing. I deserve 50 grand a week. You go, no, you don't. You're absolutely rubbish. I'm playing you out of necessity. We'll see you later. and then anything in between, I find. But yeah, usually if they ask for something reasonable, then obviously they're offered. But if it's more than I know the club can afford, they're gone, basically, because it's then usually spending that much money on one player. With the teams that I've managed recently, giving them that much money doesn't outweigh the financial burden it puts on the club and things like that. Not that I'm known for that. My favorite thing is putting teams into the red, but it's depending on who you're managing, you pick your battles with certain players. But yeah,
which is fair. See, I just ignore it. I'm just very much a wait and see kind of guy. It's like, they'll inevitably get over this. It's like, they want a new deal. I've said no. I've upset them. I've upset the entire squad, because the entire squad will then come in and say, well, why haven't you given him a new deal? Why aren't you offering Kevin Kleenex a new deal? Sorry, Jeb, I've already signed him at this point and he wants a new deal already. Soz. And then you just go, well, he's got 3 years. He'll get over it in the next 3 years. He'll deal with that. Are you a wait and see a Jeb, or are you more proactive? Are you like, right, let's get him gone now?
Don't mean to rag on the game, but getting rid of players in this game is still a nightmare. Still an absolute nightmare. Like, yeah. I don't know. I've got like 4 or 5 people just because network says the main thing that I played recently. I've not played much in all game. Well, I'm outside transfer window in the Sheffield United thing that I've continued today. But yeah, just trying to move players on is still just so difficult. You can put the price down to nothing. And like, yeah, they're still not going. Or you get bids in and the player goes, I don't want to go. But, yeah, but I don't want you. I'm literally, you are sat playing with the under 16s like, over there. The other reason you're in this office is because I'm just telling you, you're leaving. You still won't leave. So getting rid of players is difficult. So like the getting them gone is more difficult, it seems to be. Even the players that want to go, it's difficult to get rid of as well. Like Ibrahim and Konate, I've got an agreement with him where if a bid comes in at 72 million, he can go. He is one of the world's best centre backs in the network save, and nobody has made a bid for him.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's bonkers. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think at the start of FM24, I would have disagreed with you because I think the ease of
all the
getting
new things in.
Yeah, I think the ease of getting shot of them compared to FM23, for example.
Yeah,
I think it was easier. But if you just look at FM24 just as a single entity, it's hard. It's still very, very difficult. I mean, I look at some of the players that I shifted from that United team just before we ported the game over to FM24. It took me 6 months to get rid of the likes of Casemiro or like Anthony, for example. And even when they went for, I think Anthony was inexplicably valued at around £85 million. And I sold him for about 30 in the end. And I was glad to be shot of him, but it took 6 solid months of trying to shift him, like in-game months of like trying to get him gone. Same with players like Casemiro, for example. Well, I wanted them gone because they were all on, 350 grand a week. So they would just absolutely rinse my wage budget. Then FM24, we ported the game over to FM24, and they're like, oh, well, here's an intermediary. Like, you can stick them on, Facebook Marketplace for footballers now. And it's really, really easy. And you're like, oh my God, this is way easier. But then time passes.
I was going to say, you say it's like Facebook Marketplace. Then Real Madrid come in and go, is this available? I'll give you 20p for your £50 million player. Non-negotiable.
Yeah,
so, no.
Sorry, we're not willing to negotiate on this. Yeah. Or, more frustratingly, the Saudi clubs have run out of money. Like, they are, like, you can't see that they've bought anybody but they are inexplicably, £70 million in the red in terms of their transfer budget. But
I don't know what you lot got up to before Stakey and I joined, but you've bankrupted all the Saudi clubs by selling your players there.
Well, no, I was going to say there is a bit that way, but then they're kind of gone the other way as well. I think you've got quite lucky with, I think Bruno Fernandes went there and you bought him in, and he's the world's second best player at 37 or whatever it is. But I'm trying to decide, I need a new goalkeeper or backup goalkeeper. So Mamadashvili's there. I was like, okay, that's fair. He's leaving. He's end of contract. I'll go in for him end of contract. But what much you want? 1.25 million a week. Okay. No. How about something more realistic? No, I don't do that. That's not doing realism anymore. I've been to Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
was going to have a go at you, Rich, as well, like, because you've got Bellingham. And you've got Bellingham on 400 grand a week. I was like, oh, that's really sickening. Like 400 grand a week. I wonder what else he's got in there. Oh, 100 grand bonus appearance fee. Oh, that's really, really sickening. And then I looked at Kvaratskhelia. He's on 450 grand a week and 100 grand appearance bonus. And I wasn't even competing for him. Yeah.
Am I paying Jude Bellingham 100 grand appearance fee?
Yeah, exactly. So you're paying him $500,000 a week.
Jesus. Yeah. I didn't even know I'd done that.
But I'm paying Kvaratskhelia 550 grand a week. So. But at least he's all right.
Yeah, Jude Bellingham, weirdly enough, surprisingly competent central midfielder. I will say. And there you go, kids. There's the dangers of adding on those clauses and just not paying enough attention to how much you're adding on to players. I will say, actually, that I think that the Saudi free agency, it sounds like we're just now ragging on the Saudi league, but it has a lot to answer for in terms of contract negotiations this year. It's, oh my goodness gracious me. Because I think that's one of the D you mentioned is like, you want to sign a player, his contract is expiring, he's got a couple of months left, you go have a chat with him. I'm going to give you $5,000 a week. And he goes, no, I want 20. And you go, all right, enjoy free agency then, pal. And then he gets released by the club, and then he comes to you cap in hand. Please, sir, that £5,000 per week you've offered me, oh, that would make me so happy, sir. You'll take 4 and you'll thank me for it. Like, that doesn't, because the Saudi league pay players such ridiculous amounts of money. As soon as a Saudi club is interested in a fairly competent player, their wage demands are instantly $200,000 a week. Even when they become a free agent. It happened to me with Jadon Sancho, for example, in What's the Story. He became a free agent. I think was trying to sign him for Wolfsburg of all clubs. And he got released by United, and all the way through those negotiations, he was like, yeah, I want $250,000 a week. I was like, my highest earning player is on 80. It's not going to happen. He gets released by United. He's a free agent. And I go back to him like, right, that 250 is now going to be close to about 75. And he's like, no, I want 400 now because Al Ettifaq are interested. And you're like, well, I can't give you that. No way can I give you that. And then off he trots. So the second that there's interest from, and again, you see the players out there in the network save. Diogo Dalot's out there on £750,000 a week for some reason. Like Harry Kane at one point was out there on, like £750,000. Lionel Messi at the start of the game cycle. When we did Broken Chelsea, I got him to Chelsea for £350,000 a week. I think he signed for a Saudi club and everybody else's save for about £1.3 million a week. It's bonkers. So that aspect of it, because that used to be my favorite thing, just, feeling like some kind of like land baron, like I'm putting on a big white linen suit and a big like broad white Panama hat. I'm like, ha, 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 ha. And you wanted how much previously, and you'll accept how much now? feeling like a big man, as central midfielders grovel at my feet. Doesn't happen anymore. It's really, really, really hard. Like, unless you're managing, non-league or significantly lower down the pyramid, I find it's a lot harder now to pick up those released players than it because of the big money international leagues that will just sign anybody for $500,000 a week. I think that's a much more difficult thing to do now, and I don't think there's any way that you can approach those contracts. It's not just the case of tickling the agent, or apparently in some cases offering them $100,000 appearance fee, which I really regret doing now. I hadn't realized that I'd done that. I think it's a much, much harder thing to do now, is to pick up those players on freeze once those contracts expire.
Well, interestingly, whilst I feel like we usually have our saves open, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier before we started recording properly. Genie Wijnaldum is available on a free in my save right now, and he's just played for Al Ettifaq. So he's just been on crazy money. Now, I'm not a very good team in Denmark, but apparently he is interested in a move. And I was going to just do it on pod, see how much he wants to join me. Okay, not insane money for a normal club, like just shy of $5,000, but we can't afford that as a club. The most I can give him is like 2. But it's interesting to see. I guess depending on your reputation and all these things, it can affect those things. And obviously, it depends how long he's not been in a gig. 2 months, Genie. Have a bit of self-respect. Come on, you've just played. He's played for PSG. Al Ettifaq. He's obviously played for the likes of Liverpool and stuff. Ask for a bit more money, but yeah, it can be breaking. But I guess that was a nice little example of, in a way, that it kind of goes, it's not always insane, but it can be. Like the Saudi League is a blessing and a curse, I think, in a lot of saves, because if we were all trying to get rid of players, we're always like, come on, Al Ittihad, surely you're interested in my centre midfielder for maybe twice as much as he's worth, and you can help me, sign actual players. But if a player's been over there and you try and get him on a free, it can be, just if you go for them, like even because like you said, Jeb, I signed Bruno. After me that, I still think I actually am overpaying for him weekly. I think he's on
350.
575. Is it 550?
No, 350.
Oh, 350.
Yeah,
That still feels like a lot. But yeah, there's a bit of me that was like, I don't feel like for the player that he is and the age he is, feel like maybe even like just like 200, I wouldn't be too uncomfortable with for the likes of that. But 350 still feels quite a lot. But then he is the second best player in that world, so worth it maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, but Gavin Bazunu is also one of the 50 greatest footballers on the planet in that universe. So you have to ask questions over the assessment of a footballer.
Something's gone
based
terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah, there you go, Jeb. Sign Gavin Bazunu. Make Kev happy. That's what you need to do.
We've been over this.
Oh. Get some money. I know we've been over this as well. We can't anymore.
Yeah.
Enjoy not having a backup goalkeeper. Then sounds like
Allison can get injured anyway, so it's fine.
You think? Just cross your fingers and hope that it works this time.
Yeah, sure.
That could be a whole other episode of youth intakes because my God, this year
other people's youth intakes, great,
incredible.
My AI's youth intakes, should I say, not your own, never your own.
Yeah. Never your own youth intakes. Never your own youth intakes. That's a different conversation for a different time for sure. But hey, they're easy to offer contracts to, though. They just accept anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, do you want to play for me? Yep. I don't even look at, and that's why I've got loads of youth players on $100,000 a week appearance fees. It's ridiculous. I keep doing it. I can't stop doing it. I give them to everybody. Coaching staff, yeah, you can have $5,000 a week to coach the under 18s. $100,000 a week appearance fee as well. What? Okay. We call it the Huddleston clause. It's great. We have a wonderful time. God bless Tom Huddleston. I love any player that coaches the youth team and then occasionally plays for the under 21s as well. That's dedication to the bit. Really, really love that.
Who was it at Liverpool that was in the same boat? Was it Jay Spearing?
What's that?
Was Jay
23s. Yeah,
coaching at Liverpool, but playing for the under 18s or the under 21s.
Still plays for the under 23s, yeah, occasionally.
Yeah,
nice. He played at Morecambe this season, like in the whatever the Johnson's paint's called nowadays.
Papa John's.
Yeah.
Pizza Cup.
Bristol Street Motors. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Terrors. Yeah.
There you go. That's the new career arc. See, that's why I respect like Joe Cole, for example, because he's got that beautiful end of career arc. He went old school with it. He didn't go and get his millions from from a Saudi club or at the time a Chinese club where they were paying like Carlos Tevez, £750,000 a second or whatever ridiculous fee he was on. He dropped down the leagues. He went to Coventry. He had a brief dalliance in the States for not even an MLS team. And that's perfect. And now I think the modern version of that is go and coach the under 21s and occasionally play for them. So it looks like your dad. It looks like your dad's on the pitch with you. That's what I like. Just a completely unnecessary adult presence in a situation you wouldn't normally expect them to be in. It makes me so happy. Like completely on topic, because of course it is. I went to see my daughter in her nativity last year. And it was great because they did a matinee and they did a late show. And some of the kids just weren't big enough to stay awake long enough to do the late show. So every now and then, like they'd get to an evening performance, one of the kids hadn't turned up. If that kid had a speaking part, they had to get a teacher to do the speaking part.
That's amazing.
But they did it from off stage through the PA system.
Oh, for God's sake.
And the night I went, it was the innkeeper. So there's Mary and Joseph on stage in, with the costumes on, everything's great. And they get there and they're like, excuse me, is there any room at the inn? And then they didn't get a kid standing on the stage, just off the stage you hear, no, there's no room in the inn. And I was like, oh, that's made me really, really happy. I love that. No. And that's what Jay Spearing playing for Liverpool under 23s is like. He's like
He's the nativity fill-in.
He's the nativity innkeeper who shouldn't really be on the pitch at all. But this is my big break. And some of the parents are in the back like, you can tell that they had a walk-on part on Holby City once, and it shows. It shows in that delivery. Not Jay Spearing. He's never been on Holby City, to my knowledge. Although I'm sure he'd do a great job if he was on there. Good. I feel like we can get this back on the tracks now somehow. Maybe. Can we? Is there? I don't know. Is there potential? Let's find out. I feel like we've covered contracts quite well there, fellas. I've really enjoyed that. That was a lovely conversation. Thank you both. That was good. Well done. We all made some astute points about contract negotiations and signings, and I feel like we're all better people for it. I suppose we should probably finish this week's podcast with a little game. I don't know how I feel about a little game. Do you want to play? Do you want to play a little game? About 5 minutes worth of game.
5 minutes.
5 minutes worth of
Ish.
game.
Give or take.
Yeah. Start the timer.
Get the timer on. Can I introduce the game while you set the timer?
Yeah.
Because the introduction to the game, I don't think should be part of the allotted time for the game. Okay. We're going to play a wonderful round of my new favorite podcast game that Steak brought to the table. What am I thinking? It's me. So could be anything. Basic. I have a list. I'm going to ask the lads 10 questions each. They can answer with any correct answer is valid. Other tissues are available. Jeb just held up a box of Kleenex. This podcast is not sponsored by Kleenex, but I wish it was. Give me some of that Kleenex cash. Give me some of that dirty tissue cash. I'm interested. I'm going to ask the lads 10 questions. They will each answer. If they answer with the same answer that I have written down for each question, they are eliminated from the competition. If you make it all the way through, if you make it all the way to the end, then congratulations, I guess. We'll find out. Every time I've played this, I've gone out painfully early. Thank you, Sassuolo. I appreciate it enormously. Are we both ready? You can start the timer now, Jeb.
I'm ready.
Okay. Question number 1. I would like you to each name any past or present English player with at least one full Premier League appearance. D, we'll go to you first. An Englishman to have played in the Premier League.
Russell Holt.
Jeb.
David Nugent. The difference.
Fantastic. I went for Chris Waddle. So congratulations. You've both made it past question number 1. Question number 2. I'd like you to write down. No, that's incorrect. I'd like you to say out loud, one by one, please, the name of any team that have won the Champions League or European Cup, as it was previously known. We'll go reverse order. Start with you, Jeb.
Red Star Belgrade.
D.
Ajax.
I wrote Borussia Dortmund. Congratulations, you both through. Lovely. Right, question number 3. We're going to go reverse order again. So we'll start with you, D, and then to Jeb. I would like you to say the name of any team that are competing in La Liga this season.
Girona.
Jeb?
Valencia.
Chris Waddle. We have a winner after 3 questions.
Oh no.
Goodness gracious. Hello.
Goodness gracious.
I've turned into Roy Hodgson.
You went a little bit ooh-woo in that sentence there. There we go.
There they are.
For the audio listeners, you know what
For the audio listeners, I don't know what I'd refer to that. I was about to say touch tips, but that doesn't sound right.
I was going to say the same phrase.
That's unsavory. Well, it would have been the second time tonight, D, you said the same thing as me because I wrote Girona. That was my answer to the La Liga question.
Mother Hubbard.
Mother Hubbards. There you go. And that only took 2.5 minutes. Nice. Stop the clock.
See?
What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that 2.5 minutes that you've just earned back? boil half an egg?
Hmm?
No. Okay, great. Good night, everybody.
Boil half an egg.
Yeah.
Well, boil an egg halfway through. No, well, because it takes 5 minutes to boil an egg, doesn't it? So you could boil it for half.
I've asked
feel
this
like
question too many times this week, but I'm going to just quickly before we wrap up. Just this has
Mm.
nothing to do with FM. How many eggs is too many eggs?
In what context?
I mean, glove box of the car. Just a few different
How
scenarios.
many eggs is too many eggs in the glove box of a car?
To raise genuine concern, not just
How many-
annoyance or like, oh, that's a bit weird. Genuine, like, worry.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay amount of eggs for the glove box of the car?
Mhm.
Well, again, it's context, isn't it? Because if it's hard boiled, 1. If it's Cadbury's mini, what 50? I don't know.
We're
This is
talking
it.
just normal egg,
Normal regular egg,
regular standard uncooked egg,
regular
from the
standard,
chicken.
fresh out the chicken.
Mm.
That I also keep in the glove box.
Yeah.
Because it's laid in there. 1.
Yeah, reasonable answer.
Yeah, there should be no chicken nor egg shall grace my glove box. I've got a comparatively new vehicle. I'm not having chickens or eggs in there. I barely let my children in there. Chickens, eggs in the glove box. How many eggs are in your glove box, D?
Well, it's just none at the moment, but I'm just
At
in
the moment,
case the scenario
as
happens.
in,
If I open my glove box tomorrow and there happens to be 3 eggs in there, should I be concerned?
yeah, very. Especially if you've got no recollection of putting them in there. Right. If you're listening to this podcast and you work in any kind of roadside assistance, south of England-ish, give or take, and you called and you say it's D by his car awaiting roadside assistance. If the first thing he says is, "Don't look at the glove box," we know there's eggs in there. We know there's eggs.
Yeah. There may be an egg in there. I haven't opened my glove box for months.
What? Hey, my follow-up question to your question, D. Why have you asked that question loads of times this week? Are you looking for validation?
No, well, always. But I've just been asking that question with different scenarios. So, how many eggs cause alarm in an Olympic-sized swimming pool? Like genuine concern. And one of my friends gave the answer 4 per cubic meter, which I thought was an appropriate response for the level of stupid question.
Oddly specific. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Well, there you go.
Good.
Like someone had to derail this at some point. I thought I'd do it at the end because then it hasn't ruined
Jeb,
the rest of the pod.
Any thoughts on the egg question, Jeb?
Yes.
Good. Find out what they are next week on. No, do you want to share them with the room?
Not legally allowed to. Sorry.
Oh,
okay. Fair enough.
You work for.
Fair enough.
You work for. Is it the Happy Egg Company now?
Well, it's just called the Egg Company now.
Does this look like face that works for the Happy Egg Company?
I don't know, Jeb. I don't
Does
know
it?
anyone that works
Does it?
there. You could be content working there. You just always. This is just
Really.
It's a tiring shift. I
Really,
don't know.
D? Really.
I see what's happening here.
How do you measure the happiness of an egg?
Top to bottom.
Dizzy the egg always looked really, really happy, didn't he? Remember Dizzy on the old Amiga? He always looked really happy. But what did he have to be happy about? He had no arms. He had hands. He had hands and feet, but he had no arms or legs. Did he have legs? I don't think he had legs. They just floated next to him.
I don't remember.
Science has gone too far. That very much feels like the end of the podcast to me. I don't know how you all feel about that. Join us next week where we talk about youth intakes and has science gone too far? Or flip side of the coin, not far enough. You be the judge. Thanks, fellas. Before we go, Jeb, are you legally allowed to tell people where they can catch you if they want to watch you streaming or doing other wonderful things?
Yep, at CEO Happy Egg. Jebaroo. Somewhere. Places. Other places. You find them there. Oh, wait, I hope I'm doing something this week. I'm doing an actual Taskmaster this week on Friday on twitch.tv/macaroni prince at 9 p.m. Actual Taskmaster.
I don't like how you've referred to that as actual Taskmaster. that just hurts.
Actually,
my
no, it's not
feelings.
actual Taskmaster. They don't want to get sued either. Yakmaster, that's what it's called.
There we go. There we go.
Yes. Come see various shenanigans. I can't really say anything about it, but it's Christmas themed.
Oh, there you go. Festive shenanigans. There you go. I look forward to it. D. Are you going to hurt my feelings as well by referring to something you're doing as actual proper content, or?
No, I don't do
very
actual
sweet of you.
proper content.
Bless you.
But if people would like to hang out, they can come watch me over on Twitch at DBoyPlays. Best always plug as well. The two chaps that aren't here, we got _steak_bake and Callum.
Yes, all of those people. I will be playing Football Manager this week on Twitch at twitch.tv/Rich Owens FM. Feel free to come and hang out. You don't have to. Can't make you, but it'd be nice if you did. Lovely stuff. Fellas, thank you very much for spending your Sunday evening with me. And thank you, yes, you, the audience, for listening, for watching. However you are consuming this podcast this week, we appreciate you enormously. Thank you very much. From me and from the FM team, this has, of course, been another episode of Football Manager Therapy. We will see you.
Rich.
Oh, Jeb, hello. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How many baby bells do you think you can get in the back pocket of a seat of a Ford Capri?
Oh, that Ford. I mean, if it's just the wrappers, based on long distance journeys with my children, at least 6.
No, okay.
It's 6 too many. But Ford, I've not got a Ford Capri though, so in hindsight, I couldn't really accurately say.
I'm on about the new model, not the old one.
I think it's a new one. 9.
Not
confidently
9.
All right, cool.
Maybe
Bye.
more.
All right, cheers. Bye, everybody.
He's gone.
He's gone. And I forgot to say, take care, love your lots. Take care, love your lots. Bye-bye.